Crypt Custodian is the latest release from Kyle Thompson. Now, for those that may not know, he previously released the acclaimed Sheepo and Islets, two incredible games. They are well worth your time. Now, knowing this, the decision for me to dive into Crypt Custodian was an easy one, and today, bringing you my review to break down whether it's gonna be worth your time. Now, if you do enjoy this review, do me a favor, subscribe, like the video, and let me know in the comments if you've played his previous games. With that, let's get into it. In Crypt Custodian, you step into the shoes of Pluto, a cat who has just died and found itself in the outer gardens of a celestial palace of Finkia heaven. After a brief exploration and tutorial, you meet Kendra, the realm's guardian, who deems you unworthy of entry and banishes you. From there, you must explore, learn the lay of the land, meet the locals, and uncover your place in this new world far away from the parents who cared so deeply for you. The story admittedly starts a little slow. Once you're banished, the narrative doesn't pick up immediately. However, after a couple of hours, the plot begins to gain momentum, and by then you're going to find yourself caring about this small cast of exiles and their unique stories. Gameplay-wise, Crypt Custodian is a top-down Metroidvania, a style I personally enjoy, though it's not as frequently explored as the traditional side-scrolling format. However, it works really well here. Between the platforming and the world, it just had me hooked. So yeah, let's start with the movement. It's nothing you haven't seen before. You get the full freedom to traverse this world. You can jump, dodge, roll, and attack. That's kind of the core initial skill set. However, relatively quickly, you'll uncover a special move as well. This move delivers additional damage at a high rate against your foes, but to use it, you must beat down enemies to fill the jar in the upper left of the screen, and thankfully, the game isn't shy about providing you more than enough enemies to keep this consistently in your rotation. Where it gets unique though is the in-game store, with multiple options to buy add-ons, and the currency in this world is dirt, and one of the game's early story beats is that you've been assigned the role as a cleaner, broom in hand. You can basically destroy lumps of dirt or collect it from foes, but here at the store you can switch in and out new special moves and even add these different modifiers. Now these actually take up a number of slots as well. You start with 4. The first modifier I received, for example, was extra damage when low on health. Now this actually took all 4 slots, however it can be expanded. Typically fire platforming challenges in the world, and before I knew it, I had 9-10 slots available, able to assign this and an extra heart to increase my health meter. So part of this game is exploring and kind of building out your, I guess, capabilities. It wouldn't then of course be a Metroidvania without an ever-expanding core skill set, and Crypt Custodian doesn't disappoint in this arena. Expect to gain new abilities like turning into a ghost form, a boomerang ability that you can eventually transport to, and a powerful dash ability that can be used mid-air. The game smartly then introduces these after boss encounters and proceeds to weave them into the landscape. These bosses as well are great fun and creative, challenging but never pushing you into the, I want to break my Switch territory. Now granted, it is worth noting as well I played on normal difficulty, and the game features easy and hard options as well. Even then though, if you're concerned about difficulty in general, the game has various options including dialing down damage from enemies and falls. You can even purchase an item at the store that reveals the location you must reach next, overcoming, I guess, the Metroidvania explorations that isn't necessarily always for everyone. Back into the world though, the world is then not only boss encounters but filled with plentiful enemies and varied ones, offering some unique foes to overcome that each have a variety of moves from melee to range to borderline bullet hell. There's always something unique up its sleeve to challenge your growing skill set and to kind of push you to fully leverage the new moves you do unlock. Outside of that, it's a Metroidvania, so of course there are collectibles such as photos for completionists. There's going to be plenty of save points, and one of my favourite features, you can fast travel to any save location from the map at any time, which negates much of the backtracking often associated with the genre. So up until this point, I've been extremely positive, and honestly, it's well deserved. But I do have a couple of issues I want to voice. First, the map. It's a large location, but the functionality here is a little weak in my opinion. You can't zoom in and out, it only has 2 viewpoints, and I would prefer personally more freedom. You can actually turn on a mini map as well, but it's off by default, and it definitely feels a little undercooked. Additionally, I had a lot of fun with the combat, but it's not the most robust. You have a soul broom in hand, and while the specials add some variety, it does get a little button mashy once you understand the different enemies. Finally, save points, while of course appreciated, aren't ideally placed at times. For example, a boss encounter may be a couple of screens away with enemies in between. I would personally prefer them to be right outside the door so you don't have to keep doing the same sections if you're maybe struggling with a specific encounter. Despite these minor issues though, I've had a blast with the game. It's got a really strong progression system regarding traversal. The world is interesting with lots of challenges to keep you locked in, so think locations where you can't take a hit. The platforming is particularly rewarding as it constantly gets more and more creative. And yeah, look, if you're a genre fan, from a gameplay perspective, I think it is a win. I also then do want to note as well, I think a lot will like this, once you beat the first in-game boss, you'll unlock a boss rush mode that basically evolves as you face new bosses within the main story. And that's a really nice touch and something I'm personally a fan of, as it's just another excuse to dive back into this world after completion, something you can never complain about. Visually then, this is actually what initially got me interested. I thought it looked really unique, and I actually didn't even at that point realize it came from such an established developer, but it's as good as it looks in the trailers with strong animations throughout. Like sure, I'll admit on changing screens I had a couple of stutters, but this was never in the presence of enemies, nor did it occur during platforming. It's a simple, loading thing. But yeah, I loved it. The world is vibrant with a nice mix of variety from location to location. Enemies are particularly impressive and bosses are, of course, screen filling, but well designed to ensure attacks are quickly understandable. I wish the game had more out-of-engine cutscenes personally. They appear only occasionally, but again, just a tiny issue. Finally, the audio, and generally I liked it. Attacks sound strong, the different moves come with attached effects, and enemies have a few nice elements, to make them stand out. The music is solid too. Occasionally I'd say it could be a little too slow paced for my taste, but it makes sense given the setting, and it knows when to, of course, dial things up accordingly. There are definitely a few standout tracks in here as well, which I'd happily listen to outside the game, and that's always one of the biggest compliments I can give. So overall, honestly, Crypt Custodian, it's a gem. Sure, it's not perfect. I had a few minor quibbles with it, like wishing there was more depth to its combat and weapon options, but generally it's another stellar Metroidvania title for the Switch that runs extremely well on the hardware. It's just one of those games where you jump in and it feels incredibly confident, and that is a confidence that is well deserved from this developer. So yeah, today for me it's a great 8 out of 10, and I cannot wait to see where this developer goes next. So will you be checking out Crypt Custodian? Let me know in the comments. With that, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews, deals, news and lists daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.